The following is a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network.
Hey, welcome back to the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Coming to you live from the Pizza Ranch studio, presented by Central Bank of the Ozarks, L.I. Liuna, Labor's Local 663, Building Missouri, and Building Missouri State. Great Southern Bank with more than 100 locations in 6 states. They care as much about your money as you do. Great Southern Bank, member FDIC. We go north, and I mean way north of the studio here to Maryville, Missouri, and Spoofhound head basketball coach, Coach Matt Stoecklein. And Coach, thanks so much for being part of the show today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Coach, you guys, you're 17-4 on the season. I've been following along from a distance. Talk about the season up to this point. You're about probably 80% through it.
Absolutely, about 80% through it. Had a strong season this year so far. We have kind of a mixture of ages, which is kind of nice, moving on to the next year. But we've got a group of seniors that have been playing a lot of basketball together, a lot of travel ball, and some underclassmen that are fitting in really good. And so having a great year so far this year.
In 15 and 12, I believe a year ago, what off of last year's team did you have to replace? And who are some of the kids stepping into those roles?
Last year, we only had one senior. We graduated, Spencer Wilnard. And the biggest difference between this year and last year with that record is just the fact that some of our kids are just a year older, a year stronger, and a year smarter, a little bit more familiar with the offense and fitting into the roles a little bit better.
And Coach, just a little bit about your background. How long have you been at Maryville? Where'd you go to high school, college, and how'd you end up a Spoofhound?
Yeah, so I spent Spring Hill, Kansas is where I went to high school. Then I went to Northwest Missouri State University, so that's how I ended up kind of in the Maryville region. Spent 6 years at a small school and then moved to Maryville, and I've been boys basketball coach here for 21 years, roughly. Half of that time as the varsity coach, and half of that time I was the freshman coach. So I've been coaching here for a very long time.
Very good. And who kind of influenced you in your coaching style? Who did you learn under?
I just love college basketball. I'm a huge Jayhawk fan. So obviously, I would say that. And then, of course, right here in town, we have Northwest Missouri State University with one of the greatest coaches of all time at any level, in my opinion, with his record and what he's done, Ben McCollum, and just listening to him, going to his practices, going to his games. So those are some of the bigger influences.
And Coach, kind of handicap a little bit. Folks may not be familiar with your conference. Kind of talk about who's in your conference and where that stands right now as far as that conference race.
Yeah, so right now, kind of at the top, I don't think they've lost yet, is Lafayette. They're just kind of they're the team that usually is on top of our conference year after year after year. And then there's us and Benton probably setting at second or place right now. Benton's also another St. Joe school along with Lafayette. And then we also have Chillicothe, Savannah, LeBlanc, St. Pius, and Cameron. And honestly, where those are at, I just know that it goes Lafayette and then us and Benton kind of at the top right now. We're setting 3-1 with the one loss to Lafayette.
And Lafayette, I believe, is also in your district.
Yes, our district is our conference this year, which it didn't used to be that way. But when Missouri went to 6 classifications, it bumped us to 4A, where in the past we'd always been 3A, and Lafayette and Benton had always been 4A. So in our district, there's no surprises. Every team you're playing, and them really well.
And talk about just maybe the advantages and disadvantages of your district also being your conference.
Well, yeah, obviously the advantage is you have a really good scouting report on who can do what, so for us, but then that's a disadvantage because they also know our personnel really well and they knew what they need to do to take things away. So it's just, it is tough though, because there's just no surprises.
Again, visiting with Maryville Spoofhound head boys basketball coach Matt Stoecklein. And Coach, just a little bit about what you have remaining on your schedule and then going into districts. Have you seeded districts yet? If so, kind of run through that and where those will be played.
Yeah, so this Friday we have a big game against Benton. We already played them once, and we beat them by 10 or 12 points. They're playing a lot better right now, and this game's going to be at Benton, and this is the conference game. And then we go right back to Benton for the Missouri Hall of Fame Classic, where we play mid-buck. And then we end up rounded out with the Iowa team, Creston, Iowa. And then we have our last two conference games with Chillicothe and Savannah, which we've already beat both those teams, but they weren't conference games. So we've got three of our six remaining games are our conference games. And then we seed for districts February 18th, I think. So we still got a little ways for that.
Oh, very good. And at this point of the season, are you relatively healthy?
Yeah, healthy. We got some younger guys with a lot of sickness going around, so we hope that doesn't spread to the varsity boys right now. But on the varsity, the kids that play the most minutes are healthy and going strong.
Very good. I understand you've got one of your players
yes.
alongside. Tell us a little bit about him, and we'll visit with him.
My senior point guard, Caden Stoecklein, he's been a 4-year starter. Great to have. Not, obviously father-son relationship is wonderful, but he's just a high IQ point guard kid that has been the point guard for the last 4 years. So that's wonderful to have that on a team, where he just knows everything. He knows our offenses, he knows our defenses, and he's a pretty good leader in that regard.
Very good. Well, Cade, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
Good. Tell us just a little bit from your point of view. And that's easy with being the point guard, but kind of give us the kind of wrap the season up for you from your point of view. How's it gone so far?
It's gone very well just as a team and as a whole. First 3 years of high school didn't go the way I had planned for basketball, but this year is starting to pan out the way that I had hoped. As a team, we get along really well. You can tell we're connected, we're a family. And I think that's been one of the biggest part of our successes is we like each other on the court, off the court. And I'd say just our chemistry is built throughout the season, and hopefully it just continues to grow, especially going into districts and whatnot.
And you've been at that point guard position now. This is your 4th year. Tell us a little bit about, how you have kind of matured, not only basketball-wise. I mean, obviously you've matured physically, but what else have you feel like you're doing really well right now that you've really worked on over the past 4 years?
I'd say for the most part, obviously you said, size and strength and whatnot, but also just leadership and growing and maturing has been, I'd say, the biggest jump I've seen in myself, along with just my teammates. They build me up when I'm, down or whatever. And I do the same for them. And I think that's what we've done really well as a team is, we don't have people who are negative towards other teammates. And I think that's been a big part of our success.
As you coming into this season, just by nature of what I do, I look at a lot of schedules and look at games that I'm looking forward to. When you looked at your schedule at the beginning of the season, were there games maybe you put a little mental check mark by, say, hey, I'm looking forward to this. Maybe it's a rivalry game. Maybe it's a game that maybe someone on the other team. What were some of those games that you really look forward to?
Yeah, most definitely throughout the season. We have teams we play against that we're familiar with and teams that we're not. But some games that I had looked forward to this year was Lafayette, which was one that we didn't come out with the win, which we really wanted to. But hopefully we get to see them again in districts, and that will be a huge game for us, especially, it would be a milestone to hopefully beat them and win districts. But also just I'd say our conference in general. We want to beat almost every team in our conference. Savannah, they really don't like Maryville, so it's always nice to beat them. And I'd say Chillicothe and St. Pius, we love beating both those teams. But like you said, I mean, there are definitely games that we look forward to more so than others. But overall, it's just been a good season so far.
Cade, if you could go back, if the senior Cade Stoecklein could go back and give that freshman Cade some advice, what advice would you give yourself knowing what you know now?
Just life-wise, but also basketball-wise, I'd say don't take it for granted. Because especially, those practices, basketball is a long season, it goes from November to early March. So it's, it's a lot of the school year, but just don't take it for granted because in the blink of an eye, I've become a senior, and before I know it, I'll be done playing high school basketball. And that's some of my best friendships, relationships have just grown through playing basketball with each other. So I'd say just don't take it for granted and enjoy every moment.
Very good. Well, it goes awfully quick.
It does very quick.
Yes, it
Coach,
does.
kind of tell us a little bit about, you talked about what you've got coming up the remainder of the season. as you look forward to that district, what are some things that you feel like you're going to have to get done between now and then? Maybe some things that you need to work on as a team. Maybe it's free throw percentage, or everybody says turnovers and free throw percentage. But what are some things you need to work on?
Just on offense, we definitely need to work on keeping better care of the ball. Sometimes whether you get a lead or sometimes you get a little lax and you just take for granted a pass. You don't go meet it. You don't put some crispness on it. There's just turnovers against some of the teams we're going to face, especially with Lafayette and Benton. They'll make points. It'll be points for them. And that's kind of where we got in trouble with Lafayette the first time is just our not taking care of the basketball. And that led to easy points for them. And it's, you get that run out. It's a booster for them and it's deflation for us. So we got to make sure that's one of our biggest focus over the next couple of weeks is just taking care of the basketball and making sure our team gets a great shot. Because sometimes it may not be a turnover. Maybe it's a quick shot or a bad shot that also leads into easy transition points. And once again, inflates them and deflates us. So that's the number one thing is ball control.
Very good. Well, Coach Stoecklein and player Kate Stoecklein, we greatly appreciate you being part of here at High School Game Day on the Missouri Sports Network, coming to you from the Pizza Ranch studio.
Thank you very much for having us.
You bet. You're watching the Missouri Sports Network at MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow.